Welcome back to another episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy, Will Royal. How you doing today, Will?
I'm kind of dead just because of work, but something happened earlier this week, and we're gonna talk. I'm saving that for the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
You know what it is, why I'm happy, but it's a football related reason, but we're gonna start with basketball and Kansas, the defending national champion, on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough for Kansas the past few games. Um, Saturday they lost to TCU in a blowout fashion, 83-60, which isn't looking really good for Kansas. And what was that? Tuesday they lost Baylor. Let me see if I can pull that one
Yeah,
up.
and then before all this, they lost.
Not Tuesday. It was Monday. Yeah,
Yeah, it was Monday, and
75.
then before of those games, they lost to in-state rivals Kansas State, who's now the number 5 team in the country.
Yeah, which they also lost. So it's a lot of jumping going all in the rankings. I want to talk a little bit about this TCU Kansas game. TCU played a great game against Kansas. They controlled the tempo all through the game. They forced Kansas to shoot bad shots behind the arc and inside, and they really did good defensively, shutting down their best players. At I forgot, is it Jaden Wilson or Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick?
Yeah.
They didn't have bad games. It just wasn't the performance. Yeah, Grady Dick only had 8 points, but I'm gonna take that back. Jalen Wilson was the only bright spot for this Kansas game, TCU game. He had 30 points, half of their points as a team. So honestly, Grady Dick really determined how Kansas played that game, and it really didn't go well for them. So
Yeah.
TCU is looking like they are in the lead for the Big 12 when it comes to ranking wise. And Big 12 and SEC, they have a huge matchups coming up this Saturday. Well, the day after this podcast will be released. But yeah, I'm looking forward for this weekend. Will, do you have?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's the Big 12 SEC Challenge this weekend. I'm gonna pull up the games real quick. I know we have a few written down here, but I'm gonna pull up all 10 games real quick. So we have starting off at 11, we have Auburn traveling all the way up to West Virginia. Then around 1, we will have my Crimson Tide, the number 2 team in the country now. We'll talk about them in a second. They will take on Oklahoma. Then you have Texas Tech taking on LSU and Iowa State taking on Missouri. At 3 o'clock, we'll have your team, Arkansas Razorbacks, traveling out to Waco to take on Baylor. And then we have TCU coming here to Mississippi to take on Mississippi State. That will be a really good game. 5 o'clock, we'll have probably the most enticing game of the weekend. Number 10, Texas, traveling all the way to Knoxville to take on number 4, Auburn. We'll have Florida going up to Manhattan to take on Kansas State. South Carolina, Georgia doesn't count. And then the game of the weekend, the Clash of the Blue Bloods, number 9, Kansas, traveling to Rupp Arena to take on Kentucky. On top of that, we'll have Ole Miss, Oklahoma State. And then again, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M. They don't play anyone special. They play each other. But there are some good games in this. And I mean, obviously, as an Alabama fan, I'm looking forward to our game in Oklahoma. As a fan of college basketball, you have the Battle of the Blue Bloods, Kansas, Kentucky. You have the top 10 matchup of Texas, Tennessee. You have honestly some really good games too. Like Arkansas, Baylor will be a good game. You have Iowa State, Missouri being a good game. Um, yeah, I think I would say over 50% of these um, Big 12 SC Challenge games are going to be worth watching.
Yeah, they did a great job with the matchups. I know last year Arkansas played West Virginia, and the year before they played Oklahoma State. Who did y'all play?
We hosted Baylor last year and we beat Baylor.
Yeah. So they do a great job with the matchups for this game, even though it's like before the season even begins. They kind of match up perfectly when it comes to it. And I think Arkansas is 1-1 in the last 3 years in these matchups.
Yeah. I know 2021 we didn't have it because of COVID. 2020, I don't remember. 2019, I don't remember. 2018, though, that was we played Oklahoma, and that was Colin Sexton versus Trey Young. It's
That's
kind of bothering me now.
dang, that does not feel that long ago. Now that
It's
you say,
5 years ago. Well,
yeah,
welcome to 2023.
for real, I forgot it was 2023.
Yeah.
But
Um, but like you mentioned, K-State, who is the number 5 team in the country, they did lose to Iowa State earlier this week.
they lost to
But
TCU, I think, last week.
yeah, so there's definitely gonna be some mix up in the top 10 this coming week. We'll move now towards the ACC. Not a lot has happened, but especially with Duke now, last year was the last year of Coach K. We all expected them to make at least, make it to a national championship. They did go to the Final Four and lost to their bitter rivals, but they've had a slow year. They don't really have an outstanding freshman like they do. Like last year, they had Paolo Banchero,
I would
and
I wouldn't
years
say they
past
don't.
that.
I wouldn't say they don't have an outstanding freshman. They have a pretty good freshman. Probably be a lottery pick. They have a few of them actually. With Kyle Filipowski and Derek Lively the second. But yeah,
They don't really have like a Banchero Zion type player like we were kind of used to seeing come out of Duke. But still, they beat a solid Miami team, a Miami team that was super underrated last year. They made it all the way to Elite Eight as a 10 seed,
yeah,
and yeah, I think they were top 20 team this past week. If I can pull up my stats, give me a second.
yeah. Miami was number 17 while Duke was unranked. I watched the review of this game, the little like highlights. Miami, I mean, Duke did a great job shooting outside the arc, um, which they had 42% outside the arc. Jeremy Roach came off the bench and had a great game with 14. Like I said, Kyle Filipowski, he had 17 starting, and he's looking like a great lottery pick. Honestly, I feel like this year the bigs are a big emphasis on this year coming in. You're going to get you a nice power forward or a nice center in a draft. Derek Lively, not junior, the second. I feel like once he gets going, he'll show everyone why he was number one recruit on some. He was the number one recruit on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah, it was up there,
yeah, I
but
can't wait to see him get going and Derek Whitehead, who had 10 points this game. He was said to be the best shooter coming out of the recruiting class last year when Duke had the number one recruiting class above Arkansas, and I forgot who was below them, below Arkansas. I want to
but
say it was I want to say it wasn't Kentucky. I forgot who
it
it
may
was.
have been us for all we know, considering how well we're playing.
Yeah, I think
But
it might have been Alabama. I know Alabama was top five. I think they might have been 5 or 4s though.
yeah,
But yeah,
but this Duke team is kind of underperforming. Yes, it is a first year under John Shire, and we did kind of see that with North Carolina last year under QB Davis, although they didn't make it to the finals. But as it stands, Duke is currently sitting ninth in the ACC, and they lost to Virginia Tech earlier this week. Even though Kyle Filipowski had a double-double, dropping 29 points, 10 rebounds. I think yeah, and like you said, could be the year of the big man, like we're seeing with Zach Edey out of Purdue. He's probably going to end up winning the Naismith Player of the Year, in my opinion, just the way he's playing. But Duke still has, and I'm pulling up their schedule as we speak. Um, Obviously their big game is coming up next Saturday. At they are hosting North Carolina. It's the biggest rivalry in college basketball. And they still have to go to Miami. They still have honestly, relatively, their schedule is not that bad the rest of the year. Their next game is this weekend against Georgia Tech, then Wake, and then North Carolina twice, Miami again, Virginia Tech again, Virginia, Notre Dame, and then obviously bottom of the barrel, Louisville.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Louisville is they might as well just throw away their program this year because they look terrible.
yeah, we were talking about it before we recorded. They are 2-18 right now. Imagine
Right.
saying that about a team that 10 years ago was the national champion, and obviously they've had violations. But Kenny Payne, you need to get your act together.
What happened? Why are you at the bottom of the ACC?
Why are there like team Florida Atlantic is a
Yeah,
top 25 team, and Louisville would probably still end up losing to them.
yeah. Louisville, what their only wins are against Western Kentucky and FAMU. So
Yeah, they lost to the likes of Bellarmine, Lipscomb, um, Appalachian State.
yeah, it's looking pretty bad up there in Louisville, Kentucky. Honestly, nice campus though. I ran track up there for a track meet. Nice
Yeah.
campus, but yeah, it is pretty sad.
Let's now flip over to some SEC talk. Kind of a quiet week. My Bama team, we ended up barely skating by Mississippi State on Wednesday. There were points where they were up double digits. We ended up winning by only 3. And then there's games before that where we're blowing out Missouri by 21.
Yeah,
But
Arkansas, Arkansas did
no,
break their SEC losing streak with the win, a blowout win over LSU. I think what was it, 40-60? I think we finally shot around 40% from the three, and Arkansas is looking like the Arkansas that we thought would be in the beginning of the year, even though with the loss of Trevor Brazile and Nick Smith Jr. Which good news, Nick Smith Jr. is now practicing with the team, and he could be back Baylor game. There's no promises. I would say it's a game time decision because that's probably
yeah,
honestly that's probably be our his biggest game he'll play this year against Baylor. And Keontae George, yeah, because Baylor has a good backcourt with Keontae George, and I forgot the other guy's name.
yeah. Oklahoma is kind of in the middle,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Arkansas played Oklahoma earlier this year, and they're a pretty solid team. I wouldn't count Oklahoma out in this game, but Alabama has looked good and have are they getting Namari Burnett back?
it's still gonna be like another 2 weeks, I believe.
Okay.
But probably come around to I'm pulling up Bama's schedule because he was listed as about 3 to 5 weeks ish initially, and it's been about 2 weeks since then. So my guess is he may be back in time for possibly on our hard stretch of the season where traveling to Auburn on the 11th and then traveling to Knoxville on the 15th. So who knows? Speaking of Auburn, they ended up having their streak ended last night to Texas A&M. A&M is like sneaky good this year
Yeah,
under Buzz Williams.
I think they only have one loss in SEC so far. I forgot who
Let me
it
fact
was
check that.
because I was watching
Um,
the game and they
yeah,
almost
they're currently sitting third in the SEC with only losses to Kentucky.
yeah. Oh yeah, I was watching that game. They did lose to Kentucky. Kentucky, that's probably the best Kentucky's looked all season, honestly. Was that Texas A&M game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't like either of the program. Oh, Texas A&M basketball, I don't really have a vendetta against them. I hate Auburn basketball though, just
Yeah.
because they think they're all good. Because I don't know what it is with these decent teams. Well, these like historically trash um, basketball schools from the SEC. As soon as they hit number one in the nation, they just think they're the best basketball school that ever existed. Auburn was like that last year, and Tennessee was like that. What was that? A couple of years ago. and I don't like it. Act like you've been there before. School is like Jesus.
Yeah, and I have a hunch you're probably gonna start feeling that way about Bama now with the way we're acting.
Well, Bama fans, they know they're not a basketball school. So I don't feel like they will be like, oh my gosh, we're the best. Well, I can see a couple Bama fans be like, oh my gosh, we're the best athletic school in the country. Like, look at our gymnastics team, look at our softball team, look at our football, and now our basketball is like top tier. Like Jesus,
Yeah,
bro. Like,
like I actually did see a TikTok about this either yesterday or the day before of like ranking college like athletic programs, and Bama was second just because top five football team, top two basketball team, and then we have a top 20 baseball team.
yeah,
And then number one was Tennessee, who's top five in everything right now.
all right. Tennessee is mid, honestly. It literally every sport. Basketball, they're good until it comes to the tournament. Then they lose in the second round or whatever round they lose in.
Yeah, who knows? March is always a crazy
Literally,
time of year.
all these rankings don't matter until March. That's when we see who's the actual good schools at basketball. Um, Arkansas is, I wouldn't even say we're more of a baseball slash track school than anything. Even though we are kind of known for basketball, we have been like decent in basketball, and historically we do have a national championship in the 90s, and we have all our final four appearances were in the 90s. The last few years we made it to the Elite Eight, but like I wouldn't say that we're a blue blood basketball school. We have the potential to be a blue blood basketball school just because we have a pretty decent history when it comes to basketball, but I wouldn't say that's our best athletic program in our school. I would say it's track because we win the national championship like every year, and at least cross country, indoor track, or outdoor track. I feel like we win either a national championship or we're like runner up or something. So we're
Yeah,
a track school, man.
and you know about Bama, we're
Yeah, football.
football.
Yeah, I would say
Um,
y'all are gymnastics school too,
yeah, we haven't really been competitive that much in like the last 10
or
years. It's kind
or is it softball where y'all are?
of softball is the same thing. We haven't won it in a good while. It's mostly been Oklahoma taking over.
Yeah, I know Arkansas won the SEC championship last year in softball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um, but anyway, one last thing to close out on, or actually two things close out on before we move away from basketball, and that is the number one team in the country lost this past week.
yep. We're all the number one team. It's like being number one in the nation is a curse at the moment because every team that gets the number one title loses. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the Houston loss. I watched the review for that, and Temple played a great game of basketball with Houston, and Houston is a pretty big size team. They have this is like the first year where they had a true center, and what's his name? What's his name? It's something. Is it Jarris? Yeah, is it Jarris? Jarris Walker? No,
Yeah,
is that the same? Is that the dude I'm talking about?
I think so.
I
Well,
think
obviously they were ranked. I think it was second in preseason just because of Marcus Sasser, even though he was injured for the first half of the season.
and they had I'm pretty sure top 10 recruiting class. I want to say they were like top five.
Yeah, well, now they're up, and since they're going up to the Big 12 next year, we could be seeing more or less the same.
Yeah,
But with their loss, there's a new number one team and possible upset this weekend if, like you said, this curse continues, and that's Purdue.
yeah.
Um,
Didn't they have it already?
yeah, they were I think they were like the last big undefeated school, and then they lost. But they're playing really good basketball right now, especially under Zach Edey. They're currently 6 points up on Michigan right now at halftime,
Yeah,
but they only have one loss this year so far, and that was all the way back in January. Yeah, like the beginning of this month to Rutgers.
yeah,
But even still, like Purdue is going to be like everyone, like possibly everyone's pick for at least to make it to the Final Four, and I can see why, especially with Zach Edey.
Yeah, imagine this Purdue team with Jaden Ivey. That would that would have been crazy. Honestly,
That would
they
have been
they'd probably be picked to win the national championship.
Well, I think they were 3 seed last year. And like in some of my brackets, I had them going to the Final Four. But
Well, who I would say who won the Player of the Year award, but it was Oscar Sheboy,
yeah,
who's actually having a good year after all the terrible games Kentucky's have has had this year. He's actually still having a pretty decent year. Who would have thought Oscar Sheboy would be this good after transferring from West Virginia?
yeah, and, possibly could be a top 10 pick.
Yeah. I was
But
I forgot. I think I was watching one of Purdue's game. Did you know that Zach Edey was a swimmer? Reminds me of like Tim Duncan.
really,
How Tim Duncan started basketball. He was a swimmer and the pools were closed and the basketball court was open and he just saw him playing basketball and decided to play and ended up picking it up and becoming one of the best power forwards of all time.
I mean, the way Edie's playing, he's averaging 21 and a half points with 13.2 rebounds per game. So,
Yeah. We were just talking about someone else that's averaging around the same amount of points, Kendrick Davis. He is literally the light for Memphis this year. Like losing Imani Bates, who let's not forget, I forgot to mention this to you. This man went off.
oh yeah, last night he dropped 29 straight points.
Yeah, then ended the game with like 41. That's crazy. He what was it? The team's 30, they had like 35 or 31 points, and he had the 29 of them. Bro,
Yeah, Memphis just let him go.
well, yeah, no, there's plenty of reasons why. We talked about this when JP. Did we talk about this when JP was on? I know
Possibly.
I've talked to JP about this so many times, but the reasons why are just like it's basically family reasons and fa- basically Monty Bates' family and the Memphis program weren't seeing eye to eye on the development for Monty Bates, and he just didn't play like the second half of the season. But yeah, let's not talk about that because I really don't want to get into that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
he's having a monster season for a terrible Eastern Michigan team.
I mean, I get it. He's from Ypsilanti, so
Yeah, I did know how that's how you said the name of that city, bro. Michigan has the weirdest named cities, like Kalamazoo. Um, they have some crazy names for their cities for sure.
yeah. So last thing I want to talk about college basketball, and I sent you this video this morning. What happened in the Loyola Chicago Duquesne game last night?
Yeah,
How would you even describe it? Like, first off,
who's
if you haven't seen the video,
yeah, who was ordering Uber Eats at the I mean Loyola and Duquesne game, bro? Because you did
first
just
off, how did he get into the arena?
he probably told the people that someone ordered the food and they just told him, yeah, just take it to him and leave. Most
Like,
likely.
I get it was the second half and like security is not really there, but still.
Yeah, it didn't
He
even really
walked
look like
on the court
yeah,
while the ball was live, like looking for someone who ordered McDonald's.
yeah, it didn't even look like anyone was there. It was probably like a good like few hundred people there, honestly.
I mean, Duquesne draws a good amount of people because it's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but still, like when I saw the video, like did he not like try to call or text the person that he was delivering to? Like
Who knows?
he made walked on the well, he didn't walk like on the center. He was like on the corner. It reminded me
They were playing right there, though.
yeah, it reminded me. I don't know if you saw this, but when Arkansas played Ole Miss, literally Ole Miss's coach was right on the court, and you could see I think it was Joseph Pinion in the corner waiting for the ball, and right beside him is I don't even know what Ole Miss's coach's name, but he was just literally right beside him. Like honestly, if I was Joseph Pinion, I would run the coach over. That's a free technical foul. You get
I
some.
mean, all these things makes me think of is Mike Tomlin when he stood in front of Jacoby Jones on
Oh
the
yeah,
kickoff.
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. He. I saw a video and he was talking about the story of that. He said he was looking at the jumbotron and just sees the players running towards him, and he's like, "Oh, that's me!" and just jumps out the way right before he gets run over. I know exactly what video you're talking about. It does
Yeah.
remind me of it.
Um, I think that really covers it for basketball. Football season's over, but you know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, he's been waiting for this all week, and
I've been
literally,
waiting for this for a long time
yeah,
since we fired.
but since it was announced that he was fired, we were supposed to shoot.
Not fired, but he left
Oh
to go
yeah,
take a New England job.
yeah.
But the best words in the English dictionary put in one sentence: Bill O'Brien is gone. The butt chin is out of here.
Why doesn't
He's your problem now with the Patriots.
he?
Actually, to be fair, he was a good OC in the first stint, but after what he did to Houston and after what he did to Bama, he's gone.
Yeah,
No
it's
more.
Houston's going to draft Will Levis. It's fine.
Yeah.
The defeat of your face, you're like, yeah. Why doesn't he just grow a beard? His chin is like
Yeah.
disgusting.
It's really like
It looks like he could hold a golfing tee right there. Just put it right there.
it's like a taco almost. But he's gone. So right now Bama is in the midst of hiring an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator.
It's all right. Nick Saban's going to take both of it and have a heart attack when someone messes up on the field. He's going to take the reins.
Probably. But hey, we still have number one recruiting class. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I have to have a #1 national championship. Know what you're talking about, Brandon.
I was watching Bama win the national championship the year after Bill O'Brien and Pete Golding leave, and I would have proven my point,
All right, y'all gonna get
and I will never let anyone doubt me on that.
Bobby Petrino's about to have his third job of the season. Hey,
Yeah, we're not even thinking about that.
Hey, he's going to be a great
What?
offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino. He's a great offensive mind. He literally almost beat us. Not saying much, but
Well,
he's at
well
an
no,
FC school.
because he just took the A&M job, so he's not
Yeah.
even on the market.
It hadn't stopped Bobby Petrino before. He had took the UNLV job earlier before that.
That's true. I think we're gonna take Cliff Kingsbury, but who knows?
He's in Thailand, man, with his girlfriend. He's
And
going.
$5 million is all it's gonna take to get
He
him
makes.
back.
I'm saying he makes more than that right now. He's getting paid dumb money just to sit at home and do nothing.
That is true.
Yeah,
But good episode this round.
yeah,
Got a lot of good college basketball coming up. Can't wait to talk about it next week.
yeah. Hey, yeah. See y'all next week. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that post notification. And we'll see you later. Deuces.